I thought our marriage was rock solid, that our vows made 12 years ago meant something. But one call changed everything. I found out the truth that ruined my life, but at the same time gave me unprecedented freedom. This is the story of how one small lie revealed a big secret and completely changed my fate. Isabella stood at the window in her kitchen and watched as the neighbor's cat named Ginger tracked down the chipmunks in the yard. Her phone vibrated for the third time in a row. Her husband was calling. She took her time answering, enjoying the rare moments of calm. Their 8-year-old son, Leo, was at school, and her husband, Matthew, allegedly flew to Austin for a business trip yesterday morning. "Hello, dear," she finally replied, trying to sound as gentle as ever. "Why the hell is the card blocked?" Matthew yelled into the phone so loudly that Isabella involuntarily pulled the phone away from her ear. Her heart skipped a beat, but her voice remained steady. "Which cards are blocked? What are you talking about?" "Don't pretend. I'm trying to pay the bill at the restaurant, but the cards don't work." Isabella slowly sat down on a chair. At a restaurant in Austin at 9:30 in the morning? "Honey, maybe they have a problem with the terminal, or did you exceed the limit?" Her voice sounded so convincing that she almost believed herself. "What's the limit?" "I'm not buying a sports car. It's just breakfast for two." Matthew broke off, realizing that he had said too much. "For two? On a business trip? Breakfast for two?" asked Isabella, still maintaining a surprised intonation. "You're having breakfast with your business partner, Aaron. Here too? Listen, sort out the cards, otherwise it's kind of awkward." "Okay, dear. I'll call the bank now and find out. How are the negotiations going?" "Everything is fine. I'll call you tonight." He was clearly in a hurry to end the conversation. After the call ended, Isabella sat with the phone in her hand for a long time, looking at the screen. Breakfast for two on a business trip. She opened her laptop and logged into online banking. The last operation on her husband's card. Payment at the cafe at the hotel in Cabo San Lucas. An hour ago. Cabo, not Austin. Isabella closed her eyes and took a deep breath. 12 years of marriage, 7 years of motherhood. 4 years ago, she issued all the family cards in her name when Matthew had difficulties with his credit history due to unsuccessful investments in his friend's startup. It seemed like a temporary measure at the time, but then it stayed that way. All their income went into her accounts, all expenses went through her cards. Matthew was just using additional cards linked to her account. The phone rang again. This time it was the mother-in-law. "Isabella, dear, how are you? How is our grandson?" Dorothy always started a conversation that way, in a sugary, sweet voice that invariably turned into tedious instructions or disguised criticism after a couple of minutes. "Hello, Dorothy. We're doing well, Leo's at school." "And Matt? Did he say he was going on a business trip? I hope you put it together properly. He's so distracted, he might forget something important." "I forgot my wife at home," thought Isabella, but she said aloud, "Of course I collected it. He's already there, working." "That's great. Listen, Isabella, I've been thinking, maybe you should live separately. Well, Matthew's a grown man now, and you're in control of everything, and money, and documents, and cards. A man should be the head of the family." "That's it. Just as ordered." "Dorothy, how do you know about the maps?" Isabella asked, trying not to show her annoyance. "Oh, Matt complained that he was uncomfortable. Well, it's awkward in front of colleagues when your wife manages all the finances. Man's pride. Isabella chuckled. So he complained to his mom. For a wife who works as a lead auditor in a large construction company, earns more, and at the same time takes care of the whole house. "Tell me, Dorothy, did Matt really say he was going to Austin?" "Why?" "Just clarifying. Did he say who he was going with? Which colleagues?" "No, I haven't. And what happened? You're kind of weird today." "It's okay. I'm just worried about him." After talking to her mother-in-law, Isabella poured herself a cup of coffee and sat down at the kitchen table. She needed to think clearly. Her husband is in Cabo with someone she doesn't know. His mother-in-law is aware of the business trip, but does not know where he actually went. So Matthew lied to everyone the same way. She logged into social media and started browsing the pages of Matt's colleagues. He worked for a sports equipment manufacturing company doing sales. She knew most of her colleagues from corporate events. Maybe someone posted something? One of the employees, Karen, posted photos from the beach on Instagram. Signature, when work can wait. Location, Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Date, yesterday. Karen, attractive 30-year-old, recently separated from her boyfriend. He works for the same company as a marketer. Isabella saw her at the annual Christmas celebration, bright, laughing loudly, flirting very actively with all the men, including her husband. The phone rang again. Matt. Well, did you figure out the cards? The bank says that the system is undergoing maintenance. Everything should be restored by the evening. By tonight? How can I have lunch, dear? Can't a colleague borrow it? Or didn't you bring cash with you? What kind of cash when you fly abroad? He stopped again. I mean, my colleague doesn't have any cash either. Everyone pays with cards. I see. Who's your colleague, by the way? Do I know her? Karen is from the marketing department. You don't know her. That's it. A frank confession. Oh, I see. Well, never mind. Be patient until the evening. Okay, I have to go. We have a meeting starting. Good luck with the meeting. I love you. And I love you. He hung up, and Isabella stared at the phone screen for a long time. 12 years of marriage were crumbling before her eyes. Surprisingly, she didn't feel any pain or anger. There was only a strange relief, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from her, which she had been carrying without noticing its weight. She logged back into online banking and blocked all additional cards linked to her husband's accounts, all except for a single $100 limit card, which she left on purpose. That should be enough for the trip home. After that, Isabella took out a folder of documents from her desk and began to study them. The apartment was designed for her even before the wedding. Then, 8 years ago, her grandmother sold her 2-room house in the center and paid extra for this townhouse on the outskirts so that the young family would have a place to live with their unborn child. According to the documents, Isabella was the sole owner, and Matt had nothing to do with the townhouse except for the right of residence as a spouse. All this time, she believed that their apartment was shared, but legally it was not so. Isabella opened her laptop and started searching for information about the divorce procedure. She read carefully and took notes. By noon, she already had a clear plan of action. The first thing she did was go to a lawyer. Jeanette Wallace had been specializing in family law for 15 years, and she was approached on the recommendation of a friend. Tell us more about the situation, the lawyer asked when Isabella outlined the problem. My husband is in Cabo with his mistress, thinking that I don't know anything. All bank cards are issued to me. The apartment is also mine according to the documents. There is a minor child. Good. Everything is clear with the house. He is your personal property. In case of divorce, it is not subject to division. Bank cards are more difficult. If they received her husband's salary, this money can be recognized as jointly acquired property. But if you prove that he spent family money on the maintenance of his passion, then you can claim compensation for these expenses when dividing the property. But we need proof. Isabella showed the lawyer screenshots of banking transactions and photos of Karen from social networks. It's not enough. We need stronger evidence of the connection between spending and cheating. I see. Is it possible to file for divorce now? It is possible, but I recommend that you first collect the entire evidence base of infidelity and then submit it. This will strengthen your position. How much time do I have? As long as you want. But the longer you delay, the more likely it is that he will suspect something and take retaliatory measures. Isabella nodded and made an appointment in a week. After picking Leo up from school, she tried to behave as usual. The boy didn't ask about anything. He talked about lessons and classmates. After dinner, when her son was doing his homework, Isabella sat down at the computer again. She decided to study Karen's accounts more closely and found what she was looking for. A year ago, Karen got photos from a corporate event. In one of them, she hugged Matt a little longer and tighter than required by the rules of decency. 6 months ago, we took photos together at a restaurant, signed as a business dinner, but the looks on the photo were clearly not businesslike. 3 months ago, I went on a country trip with my colleagues where Matt was the only one of my colleagues. The story of their romance was posted on social media piece by piece. All you had to do was look carefully. Isabella printed out all the photos and saved the screenshots in a separate folder. There was more and more evidence. Matt called in the evening. "How are you? Are the cards working?" "Yes, everything is fine. How was the meeting?" "Great. It seems that the contract is being signed. However, there is another meeting tomorrow, so I will arrive not on Wednesday as planned, but on Friday." "I see. And Leo asks if you'll bring him anything from Austin?" "I'll find something interesting." "Good. How is the weather there?" "Great. Sunny, hot." "Is it sunny and hot in Austin in October?" "Great. Have a rest. Love. And you kiss Leo." After the conversation, Isabella checked the card lock again. All additional cards were unavailable, except for one with a minimum limit. Tomorrow, Matt will discover that he cannot withdraw money from an ATM or pay at a store. He'll call, swear, demand explanations, and she'll pretend she doesn't understand what's going on and promise to figure it out. By Friday, when he returns home, he will have not only a package of divorce papers waiting for him, but also a complete change of locks in the house. Isabella went to sleep peacefully for the first time in months. Tomorrow was the beginning of her new life. The next morning, Isabella woke up before the alarm clock. Leo was still asleep, and she decided to make the most of the time. The first thing I did was call the repair service and arrange for the locks to be replaced on Friday morning. Then I contacted the courier service. The divorce papers were supposed to be delivered by Friday afternoon, when Matt would be back from a business trip. At breakfast, the son asked, "Mom, when will Dad be back?" "Friday, honey. And what won't he bring?" "You'll see. It will be a surprise." "What kind of surprise?" Isabella didn't know herself yet, but she knew for sure that Matt would return from Mexico, not from Austin, and he would have to buy gifts for his son with his own money. The day went by as usual in the office. Isabella worked as a chief accountant for a large construction company, global building, and her workdays were scheduled by the minute. But today, she several times found herself thinking not about quarterly reports, but about the upcoming conversation with her husband. At lunchtime, Dorothy called. "Isabella, how is Matt?" "It's working." "Don't you miss it? Why don't you come over to Leo's place for dinner? I made a stew." "Thank you. But we have plans for the evening." "What are your plans? Those friends of yours again?" Isabella chuckled. Her mother-in-law never missed an opportunity to complain about her wrong friends, successful, independent women who, in Dorothy's opinion, were a bad influence on her daughter-in-law. "No, household chores." "Okay. Actually, Isabella, I wanted to talk to you about your marriage." "That's it." Isabella tensed. "About what exactly?" Matt called me yesterday, complaining that you've become kind of cold, distant. Are you having a midlife crisis? I've read that it often happens to women in their 40s. "Dorothy, don't you think it's strange that your grown son complains to his mom about his wife?" "I'm his mother. He has the right to share with me. And did he share with you about his trip to Cabo?" There was silence. "What kind of trip to Cabo?" "He's in Austin." "Of course in Austin." Isabella hung up the phone. Let the mother-in-law figure out for herself what that meant. Half an hour later, a call came from Matt. He sounded worried. Isabella, did you talk to my mom? She asked about the cape. Why are you telling your mom about our relationship? I'm not telling her, she's just worried. Okay, how are you doing with the cards? There are some problems again. I can't withdraw money from the ATM. It's weird. Yesterday, everything was working. Now, only one card is working, and there are some pennies on it. What's going on? Isabella feigned surprise. I'll call the bank now and find out. Find out urgently. I have to move to another hotel tomorrow, but I don't have the money. Should I move to another hotel in Cabo? Okay, dear. I'll definitely figure it out. After lunch, Isabella went to the lawyer's office. Jeanette Wallace had a break between clients, and she agreed to meet. I have collected additional evidence, said Isabella, showing a folder with printouts. We'll see. The lawyer carefully studied photos from social networks, bank statements for the last year, where suspicious expenses were noted, and the correspondence in messengers that Isabella found in her husband's old phone. This is enough to justify claims for compensation for expenses for the maintenance of a passion. We can apply on Monday. And if he tries to do something to challenge the ownership of the house was acquired before marriage with your money and your grandmother's money. This is your personal property, not subject to division. It is impossible to dispute this. Okay, then let's go according to plan. At home that evening, Isabella was helping Leo with math when Matt called again. Well, did you find out about the cards? I found out. The bank says that the blocking occurred due to suspicious activity. What kind of suspicious activity? Operations in different countries on the same day. Did the security system work? In different countries, but I'm only in Austin. Exactly, and the system shows transactions from Mexico. Matthew paused. Isabella could almost hear his brain working, trying to find an explanation. It's probably a system error, he finally said. Probably. Everything will be unblocked tomorrow, they promised. But what should I do today? I have a meeting with clients, but I don't have any money. Ask a colleague for a loan. The same Karen. How do you know about Karen? You said yourself that you went on a business trip with her. Another pause. Okay, I'll ask. I'm in touch. Isabella smiled. He was completely confused by his lies. The next day, Thursday, events began to develop rapidly. Dorothy called this morning. Isabella, I need to meet you. Urgent. What's the occasion? Come on, let's talk. Her mother-in-law's tone was such that Isabella realized she couldn't refuse. She arranged with a colleague to take over for her for a couple of hours and went to Dorothy's. My mother-in-law's apartment was in the old neighborhood, on the 3rd floor without an elevator. Isabella climbed the creaking stairs and rang the doorbell. Come on in, sit down. Dorothy looked worried. Would you like some tea? They sat down at the kitchen table, which was covered with jars of jam and boxes of medicines. Isabella, I thought about our conversation all last night. What did you mean by asking about Cabo? I think you're suspicious, and I want to know that. Isabella looked at her mother-in-law carefully. Dorothy was a difficult woman. She worked as a teacher all her life, raised her son alone after the divorce, and got used to controlling and interfering in everything. But she loved Leo and took care of her son's family in her own way. Matthew's not in Austin, Isabella said bluntly. He's on Cabo, with a mistress. Dorothy turned pale. Are you sure? Absolutely. Isabella took out her phone and showed Karen photos from social media, geolocation, and banking transactions. Oh my God, The mother-in-law covered her face with her hands. I felt that something was wrong. He's been kind of weird lately. Weird in what way? Nervous, distracted. I was on the phone all the time, smiling at something, and when I asked, he said it was work. They were silent for several minutes. "What are you going to do?" Dorothy finally asked. "Should I get a divorce?" "And Leo?" "Leo will stay with me. Matt can see him, but live separately." "And where will he live? The house is yours together." "No, my house. Completely." Isabella explained the situation with the real estate documents. "I see." The mother-in-law sighed. "Isabella, I know that you and I didn't always get along. I probably got too involved in your business, but I want you to know that if you're right, then I'm on your side. Leo is my grandson, and I don't want him to suffer because of his father's stupidity." It was unexpected. Isabella is used to the fact that her mother-in-law always protects her son, even when he is wrong. "Thank you, Dorothy. But maybe we should try to talk to him, give him a chance to improve." "He's been lying to me every day for a year and a half. He spends our money on another woman. What kind of chances can we talk about?" Dorothy nodded. "You're right. Forgive him if you can, and I'm sorry that I didn't see that he had become like this." On the way home, Isabella thought about this conversation. My mother-in-law's support was unexpected, but pleasant. This means that not everyone will consider her to be to blame for the disintegration of the family. Matthew called 3 times that evening. At first, he swore over the cards, then he apologized for being rude, then he talked about successful negotiations. Isabella answered briefly, with restraint, without betraying her feelings. "I'm flying in at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening," he said in his last call. "Good. Will you meet me?" Of course. She did not tell him that he would be greeted by a package of documents on the table in the hallway and new locks on the doors. On Friday morning, Isabella took Leo to school and returned home to the locksmith. The locks were replaced quickly and they were fixed in an hour. She hid the new keys in her purse and threw away the old ones. At 11:30, a courier arrived with documents from a lawyer. An application for divorce, a statement of claim for recovery of compensation for the cost of maintaining a mistress, a certificate of ownership of the house. Everything was done correctly. The seals were where they needed to be. Isabella laid out the documents beautifully on the table in the hallway, put a vase with flowers next to it, as if she was setting the table for a holiday. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Matt called. "I'm at the airport. I'll be home in an hour." "Good. I'm waiting." An hour and 20 minutes later, she heard the sound of a grating in the keyhole, then a surprised grunt, then the doorbell. "Isabel, open up." "What's with the lock?" She opened the door. Matthew was standing with a suitcase, tanned, rested, in a light shirt. Definitely not the look you should have after a business trip to Austin in October. "Hello," she said calmly. "What's with the lock? My key doesn't fit." "I changed it. Come in, look at the table." Matthew went into the hallway, saw the documents, and froze. "What is it?" "Application for divorce, a statement of claim for damages, and a certificate stating that the house belongs to me." He picked up the documents, ran his eyes over the first lines. "Are you crazy?" "On the contrary, I finally came to my senses." "Because of what? What happened?" Isabella took out her phone and showed Karen the photos from the beach. "That's why. How was your vacation in Cabo? Did you have a good business trip?" Matt's face slowly changed color from tanned to white. "I can explain." "No need. Everything is already clear. For a year and a half, you've been spending our money on keeping a mistress and lying to me every day. That's enough, Matt. I'm sorry." "It's not what you think." That's exactly what I think it is. And I have all the evidence. She showed him a folder with printouts, photographs, bank transactions, correspondence. Were you messing with my phone? Messing with our family budget, which you were spending on someone else's woman. Matt sat down on a chair. What do you want? A divorce, compensation for the money you spent, and for you to move out of the house. Where should I go? It's not my problem. To your mistress, to your mother, rent an apartment, however you want. And Leo? Leo stays with me. You can see him on weekends. Matt sat in silence, realizing that it was useless to argue. The documents were drawn up correctly, the evidence was irrefutable, and the house really belonged to his wife. Give me time to get ready, he finally asked. Of course, but by tonight, please. Leo should see you one last time as a dad who's just leaving, not as someone who gets kicked out of the house. Matt packed his things in silence. 2 suitcases, a box of documents, his favorite armchair, which he inherited from his grandfather, and a computer. I didn't take anything else. I realized that it was pointless to demand anything else. Isabella sat in the kitchen and drank tea, listening to him move around the rooms. It was strange to watch the traces of their 12-year marriage disappear from their home, but the relief was getting greater. Leo came home from school at 4 o'clock. Dad? He was delighted when he saw the suitcases in the hallway. Are you back yet? What did you bring me? Matt looked at his son, then at Isabella, confused. Leo, sit down. Daddy wants to talk to you, she said softly. They sat down in the living room, Leo on the sofa, Matt opposite, and Isabella next to her son. Son, Dad's going to live apart from us, Matt began, choosing his words. How is it separate? The boy did not understand. My mom and I decided to live apart. Adults do that sometimes. Did you have a fight? Something like that? Because of me? No, not because of you. These are adult matters. Will you make up? Matt looked at his wife with a pleading look, but she shook her head. No, son, we won't make up. So you're getting a divorce. Leo was a quick-witted child and quickly understood the point. Yes, and who am I going to live with? With me, replied Isabella, and Dad will come to you every weekend. Everyone? The boy asked, looking at his father. Everyone, Matt confirmed. I promise. Leo paused, considering the news. Where are you going to live, Dad? Well, at Grandma Dorothy's. Then I'll find an apartment. I see. Can I come visit you? Of course I can. Okay then, Leo said unexpectedly calmly. Matt rummaged in his suitcase and took out a small box. Here, it's from Austin. Leo opened the box. Inside was a dragon figurine made of some kind of dark stone. It's beautiful. What kind of stone is that? That's... Matt hesitated. This is serpentine from Texas. Isabella chuckled. The figurine was clearly Mexican, but she didn't argue. Thanks, Dad. Leo hugged his father. And now, can I go to Mark? He's got a new console. Sure, go ahead. When his son left, Matt sat down across from his wife again. He took the news easily. Children often accept the truth more easily than lies. Isabella, what if I break up with her? If I try to improve? Matt, you've been lying to me every day for 1.5 years. He spent the money I earned on another woman. He told his mom about our problems, but he didn't tell me about his own. What is there to fix? I understand that I did wrong. You didn't just do wrong. You betrayed me, my son, and our family, and then you tried to make me feel guilty for being in control of finances. Matt lowered his head. You're right. I'm sorry. I've already forgiven. That's why I'm divorcing you calmly, without scandals and revenge. And the compensation? Are you really going to demand money? Really? You've spent over $5,000 on Karen in a year and a half. This is our family money, which could have been used for Leo's education or for a vacation for the whole family. I don't have that kind of money. That's your problem. Sell the car, borrow from relatives, work overtime, but give back what you didn't spend on your family. The doorbell rang. Dorothy arrived. Matt? She wondered when she saw the suitcases. I'm moving in with you. Temporarily. The mother-in-law looked at Isabella. So you're really getting a divorce? Really, Isabella confirmed. Well, Matthew, take your things. We'll talk at home. Matt picked up his suitcases and headed for the exit. He turned around on the threshold. Isabella, I'm really sorry. I know, but it doesn't change anything. When the door closed, Isabella was left alone in the house. The silence was unusual, but pleasant. She went through the rooms, put away the things that Matt had left, dusted where his books were. Leo came in the evening. Mom, has Dad already left? Are you sad? Thought Isabella. Was she sad? No. Rather, she felt relieved. A little bit. But it's all for the best. I'm not sad, the boy suddenly said. He's been kind of mean lately, but maybe he'll get kinder now. A week later, Isabella filed for divorce. The procedure was standard because they had a minor child. The divorce was processed through the court, but with mutual consent and agreement on the child, everything went quickly. Matt did not dispute either the divorce or the compensation claims. He understood that the evidence against him was irrefutable, and attempts to protest something would only delay the process and make it even more unsightly. On the first weekend after moving in, he came to pick Leo up on a Saturday morning. The boy was glad to see his father, but did not show much enthusiasm. They went to the cinema, then to a cafe, then walked in the park. The usual Sunday dad program. How was your day? Asked Isabella when Matt brought his son home in the evening. It's fine, Leo replied. We went bowling. Dad showed me the strike. Well done. I have school tomorrow, so go to bed early. When his son went to his room, Matt lingered in the hallway. Isabella, can we talk? About what? About Karen. We broke up. Congratulations. You were right. She wasn't who she claimed to be. Isabella raised her eyebrows. And what did she turn out to be? When she found out that I had money problems, she immediately disappeared. He doesn't even pick up the phone. Unexpected, Isabella said dryly. I know it's my own fault, but maybe... Matt, let's make a deal right away. We are getting a final and irrevocable divorce. You can have a relationship with anyone, but not with me. We have a son, and we have certain obligations to each other as parents, but nothing else. I see, he sighed. And if I return all the money ahead of schedule? Give it back. That's right, but it won't affect our divorce. Matt nodded and left. A month later, the divorce was formalized. Matt actually returned the money. He sold the car, took out a loan, borrowed from his mother. Isabella put the money in an account for Leo, let it be for education. By that time, their new life had already settled down. Leo got used to the fact that his parents lived separately and even began to receive certain benefits from this. Now he had 2 homes where he was loved and pampered. Matt rented a small apartment near their house and regularly picked up his son every weekend. Gradually, their relationship with Isabella became smooth, almost friendly. They learned how to discuss issues concerning Leo without mutual reproaches and resentments. Dorothy suddenly became Isabella's ally. She still loved her son, but she no longer defended his wrongdoings, and she has established a warm relationship with her daughter-in-law. It turned out that without the constant stress of interfering in someone else's marriage, the elderly woman was quite a pleasant person. You know, she said to Isabella one day when they were having tea after Matt picked Leo up for the weekend, I'm glad you acted so decisively. Why? Because you showed Matt that actions have consequences. I've been protecting him from these consequences all my life, but it turns out I shouldn't have. You're a good mother, Dorothy. A good mother should raise a good person, and I raised an egoist, but maybe it's not too late to fix him. 6 months after the divorce, Isabella met Karen in a cafe near her work. Her husband's ex-lover was sitting at the next table with a man in his 50s, obviously well off. Karen noticed Isabella and blushed slightly. Then I went over to her table. Can I sit down for a minute? I wanted to apologize, Karen said without making eye contact, for what happened between me and your husband. Ex-husband, Isabella corrected. And there's no need to apologize. You didn't make any promises of loyalty to me. Anyway, I knew he was married, that he had a child. And what stopped you? Karen shrugged her shoulders. Nothing. He was attentive, generous, and I recently broke up with the guy. I was lonely. I see. Aren't you lonely now? Karen squinted at her companion. Everything is fine now. And Matt? He changed after the divorce, became somehow embittered, felt sorry for himself all the time. I don't like such men. Everyone has their own way, Isabella replied indifferently. Have you forgiven him? I let him go. It's not the same thing. Karen nodded and returned to her table. Isabella finished her coffee and went home. My heart was at peace. A year ago, meeting her husband's mistress would have angered her, upset her, and made her worry. Right now, she only felt slightly perplexed. Was their family collapsing because of this empty, stupid girl? But the family wasn't falling apart because of Karen. The family was crumbling because of Matt, who chose the easy path of lying instead of the difficult path of honesty. Leo was waiting for her at home with her literature homework. They were sitting in the kitchen, sorting out Walt Whitman's poems, drinking tea and biscuits. It was raining outside. The house was warm and cozy. Mom, are you happy? The son suddenly asked. What do you think? I think she's happy. You started laughing more. Then yes, you're happy. And I'm happy. I have 2 houses now, and everyone loves me. Of course they do. And when I grow up, I won't lie to my wife. I will be a good husband. I'm sure you will. In the evening, when Leo went to bed, Isabella sat down at her computer and opened the website of the travel agency. I've always wanted to go to Boston with my son, show him the Science Museum, take a walk along the Freedom Trail, and take a boat ride around the harbor. Previously, she always coordinated such plans with her husband, asked for permission, and took into account his wishes. Now she could make her own decisions. Isabella booked a tour for the May holidays and smiled. Life was just beginning.